Hey, Sean, I just got off the phone with that guy a few minutes ago, and not exactly sure what to make of the information that we got. You can listen to it and see what you think, and probably shift gears for the next episode with this thing. But let me know what you think after you listen to it. Like I said, I sort of don't know what to do with it, but let me know what you think. Call me back too.
24-year-old Jennifer Kesse disappeared January 24th, 2006. She was last seen at her condo on Conroy Road.
To solve a missing persons case, which has haunted Orlando investigators.
So we're still waiting for that one person to come through with the one bit of information that could bring Jennifer home.
Welcome back to Unconcluded, a real-time investigation into the 2006 disappearance of Jennifer Kesse. I'm Sean Gerd. That real-time part of our show description, that's the reason that you're hearing this episode a few weeks later than expected. Just as we were in the middle of recording the episode we had planned to release, we heard back from an individual we've been trying to contact for months. In the end, the episode that we were in the middle of making, it just didn't make sense anymore. And so ultimately we decided we needed to stop what we were doing and start again. I'd posted on social media when we delayed the episode, and in reading back some of the comments, it may not have come off as intended. We simply had to change the direction for the episode we were making, not for everything as a whole. That episode was going to focus partly on statements that had been made online by various individuals claiming to have information about or in relationship to Jennifer's disappearance. And it's a conversation with one of those individuals that caused us to scrap the episode we'd been working on. One of the things that we feel is most important to this podcast is bringing the information to all of you, those of you listening right now, and as close to real time as possible. And so that's what we've decided to do. That voicemail that you heard at the top of the show, Scott left that on my phone the day before we were supposed to release that previous episode. And he was right. It did change what we were going to do. You heard him say that he's not sure what to think of it. And once I'd heard it, I wasn't sure either. We've asked ourselves a lot of questions over the last couple weeks, questions that you're probably going to ask yourself today. Does this have anything to do with Jennifer's disappearance? And if it does, what can we take from it? These questions and others, we've struggled to answer. But the realization we quickly had was that our only move was to share this story with you. And only after that could we begin to hunt for answers. We said all along that we are far from experts on any of this. But together as a group, we can make decisions. And so this episode, maybe more than any other, we need and we want your feedback. The person that you're going to hear from today calls himself Ethan. And for those of you that have followed along with this case over the years, especially online, that name is probably going to be familiar to you. This person has posted on a few occasions in various online locations about witnessing something at the Huntington on the Green. Remember, that's the location where Jennifer's car was left after her disappearance. And exactly what he saw has been speculated on by others for many years. What was he claiming to have seen? It was never shared. Just a phone number and a name, and that's it. And Scott and I have been hunting for this guy since nearly the beginning of our look into this case. The phone number that he left many years ago went to someone else. I know because I called and texted that person, and they weren't too happy I was bothering them. In fact, they demanded I delete their number. So without much to go on, we eventually had moved on to other things. Until just recently. Maybe just a month or two back, we received an email about a comment that was left on a YouTube video about Jennifer. And after checking it out, it appeared to be this mysterious Ethan that we'd been looking for previously. So we quickly sent off a message hoping to hear back, and then nothing. No response. It seemed like we were at another dead end. It was only after we'd moved on again and began recording another episode, an episode where we'd mentioned Ethan and others, that a new email arrived in my inbox. And it simply said, "You were looking for me? and here we are today. In this episode, we're going to do nothing more than share Ethan's story. We're going to leave it up to you, for now anyways, to make sense of what he says, and to ponder the question, does this matter or make a difference in our investigation? Is there new information here? And if so, how can we use it? And we'll come back together in Sidebar and see if we can put it all together. I've recorded and re-recorded this episode 3 or 4 times now. And in the end, Scott and I decided that this is the direction we needed to take. Let's just present what he had to say, and then we'll see where it goes.
Make a long story, my story in particular in regards to that case in particular. Like I said, I was very sympathetic, being that I'm a single dad, and the heartbreak that just I can't even fathom that goes along with what happened to this gentleman. And I just recall, and right now there's a Metro PCS in that corner directly where the car was abandoned. Okay, there used to be a check cashing place, and that's still getting on my feet. When I got to Orlando, I would go there to cash my checks. So this is like a month into it. They were pretty much the father and mother. They were pretty much campaigning for their daughter, pretty much on a daily basis on John Young and Americana or Conroy or whatever you want to call it. So I'm standing one morning, and I used to box. So me summing up and a person used to be my thing. I was a pretty lethal guy back in the day, not to brag or, regardless, forget about me. So I'm cashing my check. I'm waiting on the line, and I just happen to notice that there's a person that is identical in shape and everything, just from head to toe. The shoes, he wasn't wearing white pants though, he was wearing blue pants, because I've seen the video, and like I said, I had a particular interest in the case only because, a lot of that time, people were, into the case, the billboards, the flyers, her face was all over the place, so it was just, something that I just kept in the back of my head, nothing. So as early in the morning, I would say maybe 8:30 in the morning, it was a 24-hour, 24/7 check cashing place that was directly across the street where her car is abandoned. So I look across, and I just happened to look that way. And I said, what the fuck? I'm like, what the hell is this dude doing? And the longer that I looked at him, the more shape that he took, as far as, I just said, God damn, this guy looks identical, and he's standing and if you notice, like, it was a fence, and there's about 5 feet of grass on the outside of the fence, and this guy's just clutching the fence, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? Because he's debating with himself, he's laughing like a lunatic, and there's not a lot of people at that time for some reason going by, and he's laughing at himself. He's crying, not literally crying, but just talking to himself, pacing back and forth, grabbing the fence, shaking the fence. And I said, and the more that I noticed the odd behavior, just the more compelled that I just zoomed in on him. I'm like, wow, I just started putting things together in my head. I don't know if it's coincidence. I don't know if I'm wrong. But I saw what I saw, and I know, like I said, me being a boxer, summing and sizing somebody up is definitely something that's my forte. So, And I'm looking at him like, God damn, this guy's got almost the identical shoes, the same shape, and he had his hair in a bun. It was a very tight, slick back bun, but he had the one T-shirt, which would even make it more of a thing where. And I got, like I said, I've tried to contact the police. I've tried to contact detectives. I've contacted the father, and I always made it clear, hey, listen, I saw what I saw. And so as the more that I studied the guy's behavior and how erratic and crazy he seemed and how he just fit that profile. Now, I don't know if I'm not like a detective or anything like that, but I noticed maybe it's like I said to myself, hey, maybe this dude is the same dude, and he's coming back to the scene of the crime. So what I did, I left my place in line, okay, because I was all the way in the back anyway. I left my place in line, and I went outside, and at that time, there was still only flip phones. There wasn't no smartphones. So I said, you know what, I'm going to snap a dude in this picture, and I tried to creep towards him, like very, like not being, what's the word I'm thinking of? I'm so burnt out today. I'm trying to be as inconspicuous as possible, and I'm just being very nonchalant as I started to walk towards him. And obviously, you can't like zoom in on a flip phone back then. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna get right up on this guy, and you can hear him. He was like, oh my God, why? And he's like not screaming, but talking very loud. So he's like, why? And just pacing, and then he's like, no, I don't care. No, why? And he must have said why about 30 times from the time that I was in earshot distance. And as soon as when I got to about, I'm just trying to remember. When I got to about, let's say I'm looking at my door right now. I say I got about maybe 8 feet within him, not even. And I flipped the phone open, and for some reason, he locked eyes with me. Okay? He locked eyes directly at me. Even as brief as it was, it was enough for me to have that face permanently etched into my memory. And he looked at me we looked at each other and I even froze because of the way that he just so turned, like, right. It's like, it was almost like he knew I was right there. He just turned at me, covers his face with both hands, mind you, both hands. No. And I'm a big guy. I ain't running after nobody right now. Them boxing days are over. I probably weigh about 6'12" and about 300 pounds. So he covers his face with both hands. And he starts screaming, no, and jets, and just bounces, and ran. And what I did, I tried to flag it. I called the cops right after that, and like that, right that second. And somebody took a police report. Didn't make any of it. I've called detectives, but for me, the reaction and the way that particular person was just the behavior of standing in the same spot where that car was abandoned, and on top of that, just the reaction of me going to take a photo, and the fact that he just looked identical to that video in particular. I'm talking about the shape, obviously not the face, but I saw the face. And it wasn't that face of one of those workers over there, because I used to do a lot of the cable over there too, and it was the face of almost a transsexual type of person, very thin face. He had perfectly lined, almost like mascara, like penciled in eyebrows. He had the bun. He had his hair tight, perfectly tight, and very shiny in a perfect bun in the back. And he just looked so much like the figure all the way down to, it was like almost the same identical shoes And I wasn't going to tackle the guy or anything like that. It's just the fact that I saw what I saw, and that's all there is to it. And like I said, I don't want to be famous. I don't want all I do is that's like the only scenario in my life where I actually sympathize with really, really hard and pray that never happens to anyone, that to any individual, anyone who's a father and knows. I mean, me in particular, when I think about it, I get upset because, God forbid, I don't know I could ever deal with something like that man went through, like with the daughter, my daughter, and the bond that I have with my daughter. Like I give my life in a heartbeat in a second for my daughter, and the fact that he had to deal with that. I mean, me probably, if that happened to me, man, I'd probably knock on every damn door in Florida just to look in somebody's face and ask them, have you seen my daughter? You know, just, and that's my story, man. I just think.
Do you remember what day? You remember what day it was?
Couldn't have been no less than a month afterwards. I might not have the time frame down as to when this incident happened.
Sure,
but
sure.
I remember clearly. Why would somebody stand? I mean, it was still a check cashing place. That much, and it was still like where her face was. I might not have the precise time frames. It might have been based off the picture. I don't really know whether it was the video at that time or it was the picture that I saw. But the person of interest, I don't know how long before that was. I know that it was a long enough period where I actually watched it and I was reading it, and she was still on the news here and there. And not only that, like I would see him, I bumped into him twice. And I remember bumping into the dad, at that time I think I had T-Mobile or something like that, and he was getting a bunch of phones. And I didn't even say nothing, but you could just see that the guy's face is just etched in pain, you know, and you know, do you blame him, you know? So as far as, like I said, I might not have the precise time frame right as far as that thing, but as far as what happened that day and what I saw and how I confronted this person and the reaction that I got, that'll always stay with me, man. It's just, and I'm actually glad because you're the first person, actually, because I have written, and like I said, I've always made it very, very clear that I don't need anything. I don't want anything. It's just something that I saw, and I just thought it'd be great to just get it off my chest, you know, and I'm very familiar, very, very familiar. I lived on River Tree Circle, and if you look up, I can't remember the name of the damn apartment complex, but the apartment complex is very, very close. So, you can look up River Tree.
Do you remember how tall? Like, could you give how tall the POI that you saw, the individual that you saw that day? Could you give like a range?
I'll tell you, to be honest, he couldn't have been more than 5'8", 5'9".
Okay.
No way. Probably
okay.
Between 5'6", 5'9". I just remember I look bigger. For me, I guess I look, and also mind you, there's like that little space of grass in between the sidewalk and the fence is on a little bit of a down slump, going downhill a little bit where it reaches the fence. So,
which fence? Are you talking about the fence by the pool, or are you talking about the fence that's outside of the Huntington on the Green apartments?
No, listen, it's where all I know. I don't know the exact parking space where they dump per car. What I know is this much: is that the guy that I saw that day was directly across the street on Texas Avenue, and I don't know if you know the area or if you studied the area. There's right dead center at the light. You have the Huntington Green, okay, and on the corner, okay, there's a check cashing place directly across the street, and then there's the bus stop right next to it.
Correct.
And so I was, like I said, I was the last person online when all this happened, and just like I said, it's not like it just dawned on me. The reason it dawned on me that it possibly I could have seen that the person who did it this was the behavior. It was just like I was studying it and studying the person. And then I came to the conclusion once when I was like, what the fuck, it's early in the morning. Why is this guy, grabbing the fence and acting the way that he's acting, and then as I started to, everything just started to just, like sizing him up and stuff, and I've even offered like a sketch of the face, because that face, it'll never, the reaction when I went to take the photo, why would somebody cover their face and run for their life? Basically ran for his life, like almost got hit by a car crossing that on Texas Avenue. Okay, because there's a two-way over there. There's a single lane two ways, just to get away from it. And so what was the point of that? Like, just very odd, and I've seen a lot of bad stuff, but it's just like, like I said, it's just something that's always stuck with me, and I've always wondered, like, was that the person? I know, like, everyone got the A, but you know what? No one's got caught yet, and directly, if you're familiar, if you look, like, if you were to Google it right now,
right,
you look, there's a I guess it's a Metro PCS now store. At one time that was a check cashing place. If you look into it,
okay,
it was a big check cashing joint. Everyone would cash their checks there, and they I guess they converted it. I guess because the Amscot up the block that opened up, and that kind of, I guess for whatever reason they shift over, and when I looked to the left of me, that's it. I would say in all total, man, just me studying the person, and it was more than 5 minutes. Definitely more than 5 minutes before I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy looks exactly, frame-wise, the body frame. Like I said, I've made it, the first 10 years, the first, from 13 all the way to 22, sizing up people was my thing, like before you get in the ring, you're going to size somebody up, so.
Right.
And
so he was on the same side of the road as the Metro PCS is now. So he was on that side, and so then you walked across the parking lot basically right there.
Well, no. I don't, listen, he was grabbing the fence right there, a little directly across the Metro PCS. Well, now it's a Metro PCS. No more than 6 feet away from the right from the corner, and just hugging.
Gotcha. Okay.
He had his head down first when I noticed him, and I noticed that he was talking to himself. He was cleaning the fence with both hands, shaking the fence, talking to himself, and just, yeah. So that's what I recall, and like I said, the only thing that I wish is that maybe one day she's found, and it's rough in Florida, man. Though, so missing, there's too many ways to disappear, and I just pray that father lives a happy life, parents live a happy life, and I was so adamant about what I saw that I was even willing to go into a police station. I don't want them to look at me like I'm the weirdo, But,
sure.
But if you look, I'll give you my name and everything. You can look it up, dude. I don't got a single thing of me being in trouble. I'm a God-fearing person, and my daughter will attest to me being that I am, and which is why I sympathize with. I always did, and then when I saw that, it was just like, damn, you know what? I wish somebody would at least listen to my story. I had one detective listen to my story that I called in, and he's like, maybe, like kind of like blowing it off, like maybe I'm crazy or something. But I don't know, man. Like that face wasn't a normal somebody who's sound of mind either. It was almost a cross between a woman and a man, like very, almost like a muskrat face, like a very thin,
you think it was
face,
Were they white, black, Hispanic?
I'm guessing Hispanic.
Okay. Okay.
Definitely guessing Hispanic.
Well,
and like I said, the bun was there, perfectly rolled. And like the more that I just started sizing her up, or him, or whatever it was, just the more compelled that I felt like, you know what, I need to take a picture of this just in case. Just
so
in
you
case.
didn't get any picture?
No, man. But like I said, back in those days, it felt like I could just zoom in. You know what I mean? So.
Right.
And he spotted me right before I got it in close enough before I could take a picture. And the reaction too, man, just throwing your two hands up and screaming, no. It was almost like a shriek and scary, you know, and just like, I'm like, wow, this guy's really not, he's not there, you know, and, but as years gone by, I just, every once in a while, I'll always just see like, hey, they find her or whatever, and, I guess me living in the same proximity and, like, the posters were kind of, like I said, like that sympathy that I have is just, just there, so.
Ethan believes 100% that he saw the person of interest. That this person's face that is etched into his mind is the person that was involved in the disappearance of Jennifer Kesse. But how could anyone tell if it was the POI 100%? The photos and videos are terrible. But then again, when you look at the details that are visible, the person of interest seems to be so unique that there can't be that many people that would fit that description or that image that we see. My first thoughts were that Ethan probably just saw someone and it wasn't the POI, but the more I thought about it and how this person is so distinct and that it was at the Huntington on the Green, well, it certainly makes you wonder. And if we consider for a moment that Ethan did in fact see the person of interest, well, we now know a lot more information about that person than we did before, don't we? It's a male, likely Hispanic, with shiny hair pulled into a bun. You heard the description. But then we're back to asking the question about who he actually saw. Because knowing these details about the person of interest are only important if they help us get to a point of identifying this person, or providing enough detail that someone who knows them comes forward. And that's what makes this a hard thing to make sense of. You can start to see why Scott and I still haven't figured out what to make of it. We could know so much more information about the person of interest, but it's just a big maybe. We sent some photos to Ethan of different people we've come across in this investigation who could possibly match his description, and none fit the bill. So today, it's just another account to consider. And for those of you that have wondered about Ethan and his story for all these years, there are some answers here. But for those of you that are new to the Ethan account, welcome to another confusing part of this story. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is where we need your help. And we're looking forward to discussing this with you on the Facebook group and our next sidebar, and hearing about it from your point of view. And that's where we're going to leave you today, with just the account from Ethan that you heard. Thank you as always for listening and participating. And remember, if you think you know something about the disappearance of Jennifer Kesse, the time to come forward is now. Make that phone call and help bring her home. And if you know someone who matches that unique description that you heard from Ethan, we want to hear from you too. You can reach our voicemail line to participate in the sidebar or just contact us in general. That number is 321-710-6304. Or you can email us at unconcludedpod@gmail.com. Music in this episode is by PC3, and we'll see you next time.